I loved this conversation with Christine Bissonette, my coworker at Kripalu Center, also on the faculty there, body worker of 25 years, yoga teacher extraordinaire. We cut through the nonsense in a world that is oversaturated with health and wellness information. We get right to the core of what works and what doesn't, some common pitfalls that interrupt our longevity and our mobility, and just overall how to live a healthier, more vibrant life in a very specific, pragmatic way. Can you make progress and love yourself at the same time? Find out in this beautiful conversation with Christine Bissonette. Practical mindfulness that meets you where you are. This is Mindfulness Unscripted. I'm John Orsini.
So I've been a body worker for 25 years. My focus, I've worked in hospice and I'm still in private practice. I worked in a PT center. So really just a lot of chronic pain and injuries is where my practice has always tended to land. Like I don't work in a spa. Nothing wrong with that. That's spectacular. But people come to me with stuff, right? Like what's going on here? We're figuring things out, which I love to do. And you and I were just talking about how people move through and try to figure out how to care for themselves really and all the um, things that are out there. I think there's just too much. How can I find it like how can anyone who isn't necessarily someone in the field make an understanding of how to create balance in their self-care, even just physically to start? So that was the CrossFit, right? So I'm all for anything, any movement in moderation with balance.
Yeah.
So that's really more it is the people that I see. I think I might have said to you, I'm not sure, the three things I see the most injuries are CrossFit, Pilates, and pickleball.
Yeah. Wow.
And it tends to be because more than not, those three people tend to do 7 days a week. Don't take a break. Go big, go as hard as they can go. You know, the body was meant, in yoga, sthira and sukha is effort and ease, right? We need that balance. The body was created with effort and ease. The foundation, your limbs are support. Your arms are mobile, right? We're always this balance of movement and stability, and our self-care needs to be that. But I think as a culture, forgive me for making a broad statement, but what I will just speak to what I see on my massage table for 25 years. That's what I'm speaking to. My own personal experience is it's like go big. More is better, but it's really not. So I'm hoping folks are really finding the pause, realizing that when you take breaks, you come back stronger. If you don't already know that, you do. So I think that was where our conversation was, just talking about balance, right? What does that look like in our bodies amidst this overwhelming amount of information and choices available to us?
1000%. Thank you. Yes, beautiful. And geez, like how much unpack with that? Because I have a lot of different questions for you from what you see. It was surprising to hear Pilates in there. So one of my friends who's a longtime trainer, we would always talk about how there's mobility, strength, and cardio. And whatever one of those in whatever fashion feels most interesting, sure, lead with that, but you need the other two, right? It's like balancing a triangle to some degree, right? So even if you're a runner, you love running, you still want some strength and you still want some mobility in your training, etc. So like balance, like you're talking about, effort and ease, recovery days. All to say, when it comes to Pilates, what do you think it is, or what do you find with that one? We'll start with that one.
So Pilates, instructor dependent, and I have a dear friend who's been an instructor for like 35 years. So I absolutely, this is no diss on Pilates, but instructor dependent, no different than anything. Yoga dependent, instructor dependent.
Yeah.
Pilates is what I see is instructor dependent is too much front body strengthening, like cores, like there's the 100s and all those things, strengthening the front of the body and then stretching the back of the body. So you strengthen the front, stretch the back, strengthen the front, stretch the back, strengthen the front, stretch the back. So the back body's overstretched and weaker. And a lot of Pilates people I see have back pain.
Lower back, middle back, or all of it?
Lower back. Yeah. And it might be the student, it might not be the teacher, it might be the student is obsessed with a six-pack abs, and I'm going to keep strengthening. The word core to me is just too vague, but I'm going to strengthen what looks pretty in the front and keep stretching the back body. And to be fair, they're not anatomy people. They don't know that is actually creating imbalance in their body. So that's usually the biggest issue and
Yeah.
very easily fixed.
Yeah, what do you find what's your favorite way, to balance that out? Are there certain yoga postures or certain exercises, or what do you like to do?
So I'm an integrated positional therapist as well, and that is the work of Lee Albert. If anyone's interested, look up leealbert.com. It'll change your life. It changed mine. And the cliff notes
Mhm,
is, if you do this next thing that I say, it'll change your life. Stretch the front of the body more than the back of the body, and strengthen the back of the body more than the front of the body.
mhm.
So stretch the front more, strengthen the back more. That's it.
Beautiful. I mean, it makes sense to counteract the sitting. And also, too, by the way, for myself, I have to say this for myself. I, especially my last, when I spent most of my adult career as an actor, especially then, I didn't sit much. So I was so confused about like why my hip flexors were tight. Like the front body was needed stretching. And I was like, huh, why is this? And without going down a whole rabbit hole with that, the other thing is driving. If you spend a lot of time driving, obviously, it's like, duh, you're sitting, but I never thought, I don't spend that much time sitting at a computer. What the heck's the problem? But I would spend lots and lots, and still to this day, with breathwork groups all over, especially the Northeast and everything, I spend lots of time driving. And there's a lot of tightness and shortening of hip flexors, shortening of front body, the shoulders rolling in, certainly look all in addition to the computer, the phone, in addition to all the things we know with modern lifestyle. So, what would you say, if you had to just choose one or two of your favorite front body stretches and then or one or two of your favorite back body strengthenings?
So front body stretches. Well, I like to have things on and off the mat because on the mat is not enough.
Mm,
And I will, after I say this, add a layer to what you just said that I think is important. Um, but front body, so in yoga, cobra, camel, up dog, those kinds of things, in a less is more gentle way, right?
mhm,
No going big. And because we have one body, and a bigger stretch isn't a more beneficial stretch.
mm,
So
cool.
keep it gentle. And back body strengthening, bridge pose. Um, hmm. Oh, well, cobra, same thing, depending on how much efforting. So if you're in cobra or sphinx, right, you can engage and squeeze the shoulder blades together on the back body, right? You can engage the hamstrings. It depends on how much efforting you're putting in the back body. I don't know if I made this up. Sometimes I've been doing this so long I forget. Like, did I learn this somewhere or did I make this up? I love engaged mountain pose. So if you're standing in mountain pose and you're creating length in your spine, and you have all the things that makes mountain pose, then really start squeezing your glutes, squeezing your hamstrings, squeezing your triceps, the back of your upper arms. Soften your belly, your jaw, and breathe while
Mm,
contracting as much as of the back body as you can for a minute, and then relax it. You'll be like, whoo, that was a
mm,
lot of work. And you can do that. I love to do that standing in line at the grocery store. So I don't
mhm,
wait for to be on the mat.
mhm.
Right? So just
Beautiful.
like upward dog or cobra to stretch the front of the body, I kind of live with my hands behind my back when I'm not doing something with my hands. So that's off of the mat.
Yeah. Beautiful. Just a couple things. I hope you remember the other thing you wanted to say about the
Yes.
driving, same thing. Um, One is with mountain pose, essentially, you can look at that. That's the thing where there are these interesting things about yoga because it's such a felt experience. I mean, again, obvious goes without saying, but the idea if you were to look at somebody's mountain pose, you might be like, okay, they're standing there. Right, but not only, of course, is it the, mindful attunement to your own body, even in the action of just, quote, unquote, "just standing there," but all the things you're talking about are subtleties that someone wouldn't necessarily notice if you're just seeing someone in mountain pose, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions about yoga around that it's not enough. That it's not enough. And so it related to that point, you're talking about all these subtle, and certainly when you're feeling them, probably not so subtle, but subtle to the eye, looking, engaging the triceps. Like, what a concept. Like, I'm kind of doing it here, like engaging my back body, even just sitting as I am right now, just with my upper body, engaging my back body, activating it. And what that does, now with my personal trainer mind is going, oh, it's establishing that neuromuscular connection. So it doesn't have to be I'm like pumping reps at the gym for hypertrophy to like grow the muscles. It's going to certainly tighten tone and all those things. But primarily in terms of just balance, safety, overall health, like balance front body, back body, when you're establishing that neuromuscular connection, then when you go about your day, when you pick up the groceries or a box or your kids or whatever, grandkids, wherever it is, right? Your full body's engaged because the neuromuscular connection is online. Everything's firing the way it's supposed to. Whether it's bulked up from the gym or not, you're actually much better balanced to just move through your life for longevity.
You got it, my friend.
Thank you. Yes, seriously. Awesome.
You
Oh,
got it.
thank you. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, most of what I'm saying, I'm like cross-referencing. It's like almost like a question, because obviously you've been at this and you've seen a lot, and this is why I'm so excited to talk to you on here.
And that layer I want to add on is
Mhm.
to me the missing link layer of just the understanding of why on the mat or at the gym or whatever you're doing is not enough, why folks are in chronic pain in the world, or pain comes when someone is spending a good amount of time and money and emotional energy and effort on their well-being. It's because, and again, I will speak to just my own personal experience of what I see. I get the question all the time, my hip hurts, what did I do? It's that question, what did I do? My shoulder hurts, what did I do? Wow, my inner knee hurts, what did I do? Everyone wants to know what they did to cause the pain. And sometimes you did slip on the ice in the winter, and that's what you did, and landed on something. But more than not, you did nothing other than be alive in
Mhm.
a body that's created out of balance. So whether you're, even if you're not sitting, this was to my, yes, you drive, absolutely, those are factors. But I don't drive a lot. I stand all day as a body worker, as a yoga teacher, and I sit very infrequently. But my arms go forward all day.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm chopping vegetables. That's creating imbalance in my body. I'm walking, my knees lift up to the front. That's creating imbalance in the body. So that is also a factor of why our bodies wear out or we have pain. So I feel like what I hear is we don't give value to just, I'm using a body that's created out of balance all day long, every day.
Mm. Beautiful. And that also got me thinking on this track of thought too. I- It is okay, there's what did I do, right, in quotes. What did I not do? What have I not been doing? Right? Because I think about also with this sense of out of balance, right? If you're doing all these things forward, chopping vegetables, all the things you're saying, shoulders rolling in, right? And then you go for a run. That's totally a great thing. And then your knee hurt from the run. It's like, oh, well, I shouldn't run. It's like, well, I mean, I'm not here to tell anybody they should or shouldn't do anything, but it's like, well, maybe it's not that it's because you did run. It's maybe because and again, not to put like, go do this thing, but maybe, it's that you didn't balance the body in some form or fashion, like we're talking about. Like,
Oh, I believe that is it. Yeah.
right? It's not always about what you did, what have you not been doing? Like, I know that the most serious athletes, of course, people who are making their living, like as an athlete for a profession, Olympics, right? All these things. It's like their livelihood is on the line with this stuff. And so much of the training is not just the thing itself, it's the support and the balance. And okay, I throw the javelin all day. So that's like this frontward motion. How do I get a backward motion to counterbalance to make sure I can throw? It's all these support activities, and we don't always give credence to that. And like you're saying, sometimes it's instructor. Um, and how would you expect a student or practitioner to know? And sometimes it's just other things, like we have certain lifestyles that draw us in a certain direction. And but that's why, the mindful awareness around all of it really, really adds up.
I really feel for people that are really trying to do their best to take care of themselves amidst the overwhelming, I feel, amount of information.
Yes. And that's something oh, that's another piece we were talking about in a dining hall in Kripalu when we were having this awesome conversation, was something I love about Kripalu is that it's not about fads, right? Like, that's what's so cool. Like, on some on so much of, social media, people can get a lot of traction by getting attention through either through negative stuff like the worst thing you could ever do or whatever. And it doesn't mean whatever the person posts with that title is right or wrong, or, I'm not commenting on any of that. I'm just saying that there's a lot of traction, certain things get traction on social media, right? Like lately it's been creatine, take more. You never have enough. It's like, okay, everybody relax for a second, right? Feel it out for yourself. Maybe that's for you, maybe that's not for you, but everybody relax. It's just like one study comes out on something, the internet catches fire with it, and then it often, like many things can go too far, and then there's like scales back, and it's like, so there are these fad things in the health world. And something I love about Kripalu is it's time tested practices. In many cases, got a like 1,000, 2,000 years behind them, like practices that are time tested. So they're not necessarily shiny and flashy, but they are established time tested practices that we share there and that people like yourself guide. So beautifully held. It's so gently. Like I've had this hip thing for a long time, and you got at a class one morning. I was like, hey, well, based on this thing, and you were just like, and you showed, for as much as I've spent hours on YouTube, I probably have the equivalent of a physical therapy degree from the amount of hours of YouTube I've just deep dived on. But then you just gave me this one little thing that somehow I'd never come across anywhere, and it was gentle, it was kind to my body. It wasn't, "Oh, push deeper to get this better stretch." Like you said, a bigger stretch isn't a better stretch, that kinda thing. It was like this gentle thing, and I just laid there, and I just, like, kind of relaxed into it, and I felt so much range of motion. I was just like, I was so grateful to this day. It was like the what do you call it? Half frog or something like
Half
that.
frog.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Half frog at 45-degree angle, not 90, which is what you see in the pictures
Yes.
often. Yes,
And
half frog and 45-degree, not 90.
yeah.
So simple and probably feels like nothing.
Mhm. Yes, and you mentioned the block too, and it just feels so gentle. It's like, how could I love myself and make progress at the same time? How is that possible?
So possible.
Yeah, you're so that's awesome. And then I wanted to jump into, so we talked about Pilates, which makes sense, overemphasis on the front body, underemphasis on the back body, which I'm sure applies to a lot more people than just Pilates, but knowing that can get exacerbated in Pilates, I'm gonna look out for. Because aside from that, Pilates, again, great
Totally
practice,
great.
you know. Um, what about CrossFit? Oh, can I do one more thing before we dive into CrossFit? The idea that a bigger stretch isn't a better one. Now, you got more on this than I do, but the idea that a lot of tension in the body comes from the nervous system, not from necessarily quote unquote short muscles. So if you're trying to pound yourself into submission with a stretch, the nervous system might actually retract because it's like, what the hell's happening? Like we can't let go like this. And so it's more of a safety sense in the body that can help us let go. And that's how like the half frog made me think of that.
Yes, yes. And right. So I'm just speaking to the physical body, but there's koshas, there's layers, there's all the energetic layers. Not everything we do affects all the layers all the time, right? They're all affected. So yes, the nervous system, the breath. How does the breath change if somebody goes too deep? Every day we get older, we dry out. If anyone's noticed, your skin is drier, your hair is drier, which also means the inside's drier. The tendons are drying out, the ligaments are drying out. So not only do you not get a a greater benefit to going deeper in the physical shape, but you're cranking on a system that's struggling. I don't care how much oil or hydration you're using, we still need to be gentle with the body because it's drying out. And that's
Mhm.
okay. Aging is a privilege, and I'm glad I can. But yeah, it's not a greater benefit on any layer, solid to subtle.
Yeah. Right. It's not like you can let me just like rip this muscle apart and that'll help me go deeper. It's like, okay, everybody relax. Just relax. It's I find it's similar with the breath, right? Like I guide these like what can be very intensive energy clearing sessions all over the, with my one-on-one clients I work with over the long term, all supported by talking out, okay, how do we find, balance in the day to day, right? That it's not always about blasting through things. It's about what can you consistently show up with day in and day out, right? The abide and ease, that concept of effort and ease, and what a yogic principle that you can apply to everything, even, well beyond yoga postures, just how you apply everything. How do I work? Like, I'm writing a novel. Okay. It's like, all right, if you write for like 17 hours one day, you're probably going to need a day off. My guess. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe you're just a wizard. But it's like, how do you set yourself up for consistency and just keep showing up and to feel safe in your body while you're doing it, right? So the nervous system can attune to it.
And something I like to say to folks is, and I think this matters to all the layers, solid to subtle, is move at a pace that if your body has something to say, you can hear it.
Mm. You said that again.
Um, I think I'm going to give credit. I'm 99% sure Jason Crandall said that. He is a vinyasa teacher out of San Francisco. And he said, I'm almost positive it was him, move at a pace that if your body has something to say, you can hear it.
Oh.
That's a mic drop.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we just have a moment of silence with that one. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, think about yoga,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Because it's like the emotional implications too of, yeah. So what are we gonna say? Think about yoga, just like through the postures and everything.
Yeah, right. He's a yoga teacher, so that was the point. And he's a vinyasa teacher, so that's also the point of like how quickly are we moving? Right. I mean, do you have an opportunity? This is why I love Kripalu yoga so much. Our moderate. So when I'm teaching a moderate yoga class at Kripalu, I'm very clear at the beginning. So somebody maybe that's new is not sure. Maybe they think it's, I don't know what they think. Maybe they think it's more like vinyasa, which we do have vinyasa, but moderate is potentially more challenging shapes held longer. And when we're holding those shapes, how does it change all the layers? What do we notice that flows through us? An opportunity to pause and tune in to the breath, to the heart, to the mind, to the mystery. Like, what's happening?
Yeah. Beautiful. So we'll segue. I want to segue that into CrossFit, and then also like the tendons and the ligaments when it comes to pickleball, because I definitely want to get to that too,
Yeah.
because I've been hearing this. And first of all, that racket sports can make us like to give a little preview when we get to that one. I've read that racket sports are one of the best things for longevity. Like people who live into the longest years tend to play racket sports, like by the numbers or by the statistics, correlation, causation, whatever. It just seems to be a great thing. But pickleball can rupture some tendons, I've heard. And based on, anyway, so we'll get to that one. The reason I want to segue moving at the pace of your body, that wisdom that you just shared, so that you can be aware of these shifts in the body as they happen, segue into CrossFit. So something I think we touched on too, that I think about a lot and I talk to with a lot of my clients, even in the context of breath work and what they're doing holistically in their life, that in this, I read this in a book on pranayama, on yoga breathing, but it's the gist that whatever we're doing, right? So we have a lot of different behaviors or habits, anything from, we'll say exercise, say lifting weights, or yoga, or drinking coffee, or having a drink, like if you like wine, like having a glass of wine at night, or drinking like a martini or something, right? That all these different things, whether again it's hobbies or vices or like whatever, that there's versions where they can be life affirming, right? Like, oh, I go out with my friends and we go to this cocktail bar we love. We have, I like my grandma and I, we used to drink Manhattan, like have a Manhattan, right? We would have one, we would be like a little bit buzzy and we'd giggle and it was really nice and it was beautiful and life affirming and we loved the Manhattans. It was something we shared, right? The flip side of that, especially with something like alcohol, but also applies to exercise, is when we are leaning into something to numb ourselves, right? So something like, even like alcohol, having a version of it where it's life affirming, but of course you see this with alcohol time and time again, where it's like just it's a numbing, right? Well, the same thing now with exercise. And I think this was a big piece about what we're talking about with CrossFit, for instance. And again, not to pick on it because it applies to yoga as well. Like you're talking about vinyasa, which can be very vigorous. It's like when you're in vinyasa, only you can answer this question. Are you moving at a pace where you are in tune with your body, or are you trying to prove something to yourself, or maybe something your dad said to you when you were little about not being good enough, right? There are ways to engage with exercise, even in intensive fashion, where it's life affirming and it's good for you and it's invigorating. But there are ways to just engage. You see this a lot with hardcore distance running. Again, it's not the distance running itself, it's how the individual is engaging. Are you being supportive and life affirming towards yourself, or are you trying to numb something into submission through this practice? And it's just, I like to point that out because you might think exercise good, alcohol bad. It's like, well, it depends on what the relationship, your relationship is to those things, right? So as a segue, right? Because that's what we're talking about, how you could burn yourself out on these high rep, really fast, high rep exercises. And anyways, please.
Now, anything can be a medicine or a poison. Yeah. Anything can be a medicine or a poison. We know they are using, and I know nothing about this, but LSD to help vets, like, I mean, that's a very vague statement, but you hear these endless things. Native Americans smoke for ritual and to honor sacred things in very small little things. Nicotine is okay. It's actually okay. So anything can be a medicine or a poison for sure. The CrossFit, I know lots of people that do CrossFit in 3 days a week and listen to their body and don't do the things I tell them not to do. And they're fine. Some of my bodywork clients, but it's the ones that, if somebody's if you're a go big person and you think more is better, it's not. It's not. The body needs that balance. So the CrossFit is the people I've met that look fantastic. Like their bodies look like they could be, Nike cover models. And they're coming to me for stress relief, but saying they go to CrossFit 7 days a week because it helps them with stress. That's what we were talking about. I'm like, well, I'm going to lovingly say it's obviously not working. And there's a reason, because you're getting that dopamine hit, right? Like shopping or anything else, right? If somebody is excessive about anything, but the nervous system, never mind the physical body, right? The nervous system needs a break. We need a break. And I see like highly stressed, emotionally stressed CrossFit people. And then I see injuries. There's a couple things. Box jumps. You jump on a box. It causes Baker's cysts in the knees. I've seen it. Maybe there's lots of people that do them. It doesn't. But a massive percentage of Baker's cysts in the knees, which is a rabbit hole you don't want to go down, of it coming back, and there's really not much you can do, and you can have it drained, but it comes back. It's painful. And any jerking motion with kettlebells, like any swinging, jerking motions, inflame bicep tendons. And, there's this huge discussion about heavy weights. I'm not a fan. I'm not a personal trainer. I'm not a physical therapist. All I can say is the folks that do, if somebody is a weight person, drop sets. Anybody knows what drop sets are? Honestly, I've seen these larger people with, larger in a great balanced way of muscles in their body doing higher reps with 15 pounds to exhaustion, when they drop them and pick up a 10-pound, and then they drop those and pick up a 3-pound, and their muscles grow. So, if you're looking for muscles, it doesn't have to be heavy weights. I see a lot of heavy weights of injuries because the tendons and ligaments are drying out. And I also don't understand, and I will never understand, somebody doing 1 or 3 of something. I don't understand explosive movements. I'm sure somebody that is, more of PT or something could explain that. But that is also where I see massive blown out discs. I see torn Achilles. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? I can't speak to. I also say to folks, they're like, oh, this whole, I should run, I shouldn't run, it's bad for me. I go, what brings joy to your heart? Please do reasonably what brings joy to your heart, right? We're on this planet. Let's have joy. So if running makes you happy, and as long as you don't have some blown out knee and surgery that you just literally cannot run, what can you balance so you can support the thing that brings joy to your heart?
Mm.
So that's fine. But if there's some dopamine hit or rush or benefit that I am not aware of doing, one deadlift, because all I see is these blown out discs. This is the one body. I want to be 95, bending over, putting my own shoes on, and making a sandwich
Yeah. Yeah.
and hugging a friend and going for a walk. Right.
Yeah.
So I could step off the curb today and twist an ankle. Right. We can't live in a bubble, but I tend to really just take care of my
Mhm.
body. And I'm 56, and no, I haven't had an injury or a broken bone. I've had some muscle pulls in my younger days when I went too big. But in general, I feel great every day of my life. And I really feel it's that tuning in and that really creating balance in your life. Opposites create balance.
Beautiful. Yeah, there's a sense of what's the goal? Like I think about that all the time. It might seem like such an obvious thing, but how often do we actually say like slow down for a sec? Okay, why am I doing yoga? Why am I running? Why am I lifting weights? And if you're at a certain age where it's to win a gold medal in the Olympics, well, you may find your edges in a way that the rest of us shouldn't. But I would imagine if you have a good coach, they're going to tell you to take a rest day now and then. You know what I mean? Because it's just like obvious that your body has to repair. Um, but the idea for I think for a lot of us, I that was my biggest wake up call. Like when I got into my 30s, I was like, oh, you know what? Because with running and distance and different things, long story short, I was like, oh, anything I do, I want to do to support longevity. I want to feel as good as I can for as long as I can to whatever degree that the part that's in my control, I'm doing for longevity. And then just that it doesn't mean I wouldn't, every now and then I would go do something and push a little bit too much because you just get kind of caught up in it and it could feel exciting to do that, to rush your dopamine, whatever it is. Could still get caught up in that. But whenever I planted that seed, like, hey, the goal is longevity, right? So if that's your goal, I feel like this can be so helpful, right? And to just come back to like the balance of effort and ease, abide and ease, the sense that you could still do so much, but with the goal is longevity, you could still even grow your muscles just more reps with lower weight. There's that I've seen that stuff all over the internet. So the information's out there too, that people who are like you're saying, like a bodybuilder looking, being like, yeah, I stopped doing like the 3 to 5 reps and I went up to like the 15 rep range. And what that affords us is going back to the comment. I forgot exactly what the phrase was, but essentially move at the pace that you could stay attuned to your body, right? Move at the pace that you can stay attuned to your body, which is relative to whatever thing you're doing is, but it speaks to your mind state. How mindful are you of the movement you're doing? Because if you're just going for max reps just to bust them out at all costs, I'm sure the form's going to break down, right? Also, maybe worth finding someone who can help you with your form if you're starting to feel like the most there's something in the Tao Te Ching too, to keep wrapping up the mindfulness directly into this. In the Tao Te Ching, it's basically like deal with issues when they're small. At the first sign of an issue, just take a look at it, right? Don't just be like, oh, what was that? Whatever, moving on. Like in running, that's a big one. Like if my knee felt a little funny, I'd be like, my knee feels a little funny. Let me just walk. Even just for like sometimes just like 1 or 2 steps, just to feel out, wait, what was that? And that could save you 6 months laid up on the couch. Right? Like just meeting your body where it's at and not feeling the need to push. So to deal with things when they're small. So if you're lifting something, you're like feel something feels off, consult with somebody. Look into it. And someone might give you the smallest tweak about like, oh, you're not bending enough at the knees, you're bending too much at the waist or whatever the thing is, right? So
Or maybe it's rest, or maybe
or
it's
maybe it's
rest,
rest.
which, some folks don't want to hear that.
Mhm.
Right. Or if they're 20, they think, oh, it'll be fine, or I have folks in their 80s that are clients, and they're going to the gym and they're doing all the things. And I mean, it's a mindset. It's, well, they don't want to hear that. They want to keep going. And here's the other layer is that often the folks I run into don't think about. They're like, why is it taking so long to heal? And I say, well, stop using your arms. Stop walking and using your leg. This is the whole like not enough credit to we actually just use our body, right?
Mhm.
So if you have you lift too much and your bicep tendon, which doesn't like massage, you know what it likes? You to stop using your arms. So
Mm.
just stop using your arms and then it'll get
Mhm.
better faster. Well, of course not. You have to live life.
Yeah.
Uh, so then we're now backpedaling, right? So it's that the big thing is why?
Yeah.
Why are we doing that's the key word, like you said. That's everything. Why do you step on the mat? Why do you want to do the breath work with John? Why do you want to do? Why? What is your why? Because you're
Yeah.
supposed to, because you should, because you heard it's good for you. Like, what is your personal why? And then move accordingly.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Yeah, I totally get you. There's this sense of when we slow down, life can catch up with us, and that could be really scary.
Totally.
Right? And sometimes exercise, different forms of exercise are the best way. And like you're saying, you get, again, no hate. And Pilates is amazing. CrossFit seems amazing. Like I haven't personally done it, but I have plenty of friends who do and they thrive. But they take, like you said, take rest days. You know, there's something too I wanted to mention, which is because with breath work, of course, I talk about often what I say is a healthy nervous system isn't necessarily a calm nervous system, it's a dynamic one, right? So that if we do something that's a more active, more up here, it's like, yes, but then we do something to come back down. Like we have dynamic range. And the thing is, I'll say from personal experience, living in New York City for a long time as I did, it can be addictive to be hyper stimulated. I like if I started to come down, not only does life start to whatever you might be running from may catch up with you. It may be a feeling of like grief or sadness or not feeling like you're enough. Like these under like these these undercurrent core beliefs that sometimes we're not even aware of that are dictating up to 80% of our behavior, as I've read. Like our unconscious mind can dictate up to 80% of our behavior. So if we have some core belief, I'm not good enough, or like I said, like a parent when I was young, whatever the thing is, right? We can be just grinding it out at the gym, running marathons we're redlining our heart rate constantly, which of course is not healthy long term. And I don't mean running marathons is unhealthy because you could say that in the broad stroke. I've done it before, I've run one before. You could say it in a broad stroke, but it's like, how are you running that marathon? How are you training for that marathon? That's the question, right? So just like, how are you doing CrossFit? How are you doing Pilates? So if you're running from something, metaphorically, right? If you slow down, it's going to catch up with you. So it can be addicting for that reason or many others to just be in this hyper elevated state. It can feel scary. It can feel quote unquote boring, to again, quote unquote, slow down. Just, but what's under there? Like, what are we, let's meet.
What are we avoiding?
Yeah. And how can we meet ourselves? And then we can really step into what's for us, right? Like what's real for us with love and compassion, which is all like, yeah, yeah, depending on who you're saying that to, it's just like, okay, okay. But it's like, right, but that's how you live your most vibrant life and uplift everyone around you when you meet yourself in those places, you know?
Absolutely. And, just something it just popped into my head. Well, two things. Number one, this is why I love Kripalu yoga because Kripalu means compassion.
Mhm,
And it is about um, awareness without judgment,
mhm,
awareness without judgment. And it just, this other thing that popped into my head was as a body worker. So I haven't taken a new client in 5 or 6 years. So some people I've massaged for 25 years. So they're very comfortable. They just relax and zone out easily. And it might be 10 years that I'm massaging someone and all of a sudden for seemingly no reason in that pause when they're not doing something even though they're receiving a massage, it's dark and nice music and they're in a nice little bubble, they just start to cry
mm,
and they just start bawling and then they say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I don't even know why I'm crying." And I go, and they're okay because they know me.
yeah,
You've known me for years. They're like, "I know you don't care, but I don't really understand what's happening." And I go, "Is there anything you're thinking about in this moment?" And they'll say, "For some reason, I just remembered," and depending on where it is in the body, especially in the spine, like low back is lost. So sometimes they'll remember, they'll just start sobbing. So it's in those, um, I forget, it's the quote of Desikachar said, alertness without dullness. There's a second part to that I can't remember, but it's that you're awake, but still. Like, what happens? What happens in that yoga asana and Kripalu yoga when you're in the pause? What happens when we're slowing down and we don't have that avoidance? Right? What happens? What's rising up within us? That can be scary, and that can be whether we're cleaning a lot, shopping a lot, moving a lot, redoing our to-do list. I'm talking about myself,
Mhm.
right? Like doing the things.
Yeah.
But then I notice. So it doesn't, personally, I'll just speak for myself, and I believe this is the big why yoga. It doesn't mean these things are going to stop, but it's that awareness that is happening, and then the pause, and then, oh, look, I'm darting around my apartment. Like, what am I doing right now? No judgment. I'm just, wow, let me just pause. Let me just breathe for a minute and see if something is trying to reveal itself, because that energy is like darting around like a squirrel with a nut. And I'm aware. So it's that layering of the awareness. Doesn't mean it's going to change. It's going to minimize, and at least there's the awareness.
Beautiful. Yeah, two things that launches me right into are two things I like to say a lot, which is around any form of meditation, right? You choose a point of focus, your mind drifts, you come back, right? At the core of it. And what I like to say is the practice of meditation, or more broadly speaking, the practice of mindfulness, it's not about staying, it's about coming back. Because to think we're gonna just arrive somewhere and stay, that's not life, right? Like, we have to remember to remember. Like, that's what all this stuff is, and that it's a lifestyle. Sometimes I talk to my mom about this. I'm just like, in the same way, for instance, with exercise, you don't just go to the gym once, whatever it is, CrossFit, Pilates, any of these things, right? You don't yoga, you don't just go once and then be like, I'm in shape, I'm good. Right? Like, exercise is a lifestyle. Mindfulness is a lifestyle. And that's all because you don't just put a pin in a peg in the board and be like, I arrived at mindfulness. I never have to think about this again. It's like, no, every moment of every day, and depending on what's going on, sometimes many, 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 many times, it's about coming back. It's about coming back. It's about coming back. And then there was one other thing.
Can I give you a quote about that really quickly? I don't want
Please.
to. A quote I say often, if anyone knows Sally Kempton, she has passed this world. She was an American woman, went into a Buddhist monastery for, I don't know, 20 plus years, and came out, and I listened to a podcast when she was still on this earth. And I love this because I'm thinking, she's got all the answers. I'm going to listen to Sally, right? She's got it. She's good all the time. And she said, I'm just in training
Mm, yeah,
forever.
that's it.
That's
Well,
it.
that's why even enlightenment, right? I got a whole thing about enlightenment. I used to read all about Zen, especially in my early 20s. And it was like, some people thought enlightenment was something that happened all at once. Some people thought it was this long process. And I'm like, bigger question, maybe a topic for another podcast. What the hell does enlightenment even actually mean? Right? Because we never land somewhere. And I'm sure maybe somebody's hearing this being like, oh, it means this, and they're going nuts right now. But it's like, right, but if you're human on this planet, it means your mind is capable of getting distracted. It means, fill in the blank, something goes on with your kids or the world or whatever. It's like something can knock you off your enlightenment pedestal. I'm sure there's something, right? And so it doesn't, and I know there's probably some other definition for it. I welcome, again, we can put a pin in that one for another podcast because it's such a big concept. But the idea is how great that this person, these well-established people, John Kabat-Zinn, like we could go down the line, people who are humble enough. And if somebody's not humble and they claim to be enlightened, I know one thing: run.
Right.
You know?
That's it, right. If she has spent, and not that she didn't have stressors or family members outside with life things happening that, was heavy on her heart. But if this woman spent all day in meditation in this monastery for 20 plus years and she's still in training, I am for sure the pressure's off of me.
Totally. All of them. Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for bringing that in. It's such an important point. It's just a lifestyle, and to keep coming back and to
Yeah.
keep coming back. So all that said, I would love to round it out with pickleball because it's very fun. I love playing pickleball. I mean, I'm not religious about it. I've just played like twice. But I had a blast doing it. I love tennis. I have heard that pickleball tends to have more, it seems like, I mean, I know tennis has its injuries sometimes too for various reasons, but I would love to hear about pickleball, especially because it's so popular now too.
Yeah. So what I have seen specifically is pickleball people, sometimes they were former tennis players. More than not, what I see is they're not. They just want to, I'm all for as we get older, community building, moving our body, having fun, being with your friends.
Yeah.
And it tends to, as I comment to my pickleball people, this is what I say. It's not the Olympics, people. Settle down. I go, settle down. Stop
Yeah.
diving for the ball on a gymnasium floor where you land on your elbow or your shoulder. It reverberates up to your neck. I've seen herniations in the neck. I mean, I've seen some major stuff. So, again, have fun and do what brings joy to your heart, but just kind of rein it in a bit. You don't need stop diving for the ball, people. Just
Yeah.
stop it. It's not even grass, even if it was grass. If somebody was older, um, my mother's 4'8" and 85. At
Yeah.
5'2", I'm a giant in my family. My mother's 4'8", 85. She just fell from standing on the ground, not far to fall, and major break in her humeral head of her shoulder a couple years ago. So it doesn't take long, and that was on grass. So my point of that story is, like you're on this gymnasium floor, right? And even if you don't have osteoporosis, you're still jamming your body by landing on your elbow, landing on your shoulder, landing on your hip. It reverberates through your whole body. So, have fun, but just
Yeah.
ease up on the
Yeah.
intensity.
It's easy. I could see how you could get run away with the competitiveness, but even I will not implicate anybody in this story. But one of the times I played pickleball, it was the first time I played. It was with, I'll mention my friend Ann. Shout out to Ann because she's the coolest. She is a movie producer, worked for film festival. She's just the best. She's the best and so much fun and so cool. So I was playing pickleball with my friend Ann, and long story short, I got the lowdown. I'll just say this. I got the lowdown on how insane pickleball can get, how aggressive and competitive, and how like people at these like amazing country clubs that you'd think like, oh, this is a bunch of adults who really have life figured out, are squabbling over pickleball games like they're freaking children. And I'm like, whoa, 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 God, where are the grown-ups? Like, geez, you know. Anyway, so I understand that it gets very competitive, and I understand that could be a fun aspect even when it feels serious and intense. But again, I mean, if the goal is to win your pickleball thing at all costs, I guess throw caution to the wind. But yeah, we can all do with a little mindfulness around like, all right, what are we trying to do here? Have fun, be nice to the people you're playing with, based on some of the stories I've heard. Be kind to people you're playing with. You're not making your living playing pickleball, right? Like for most of those people. And another big thing I've heard is about, you talked about tendons drying out and different things. I've heard that pickleball more than tennis, because the court is smaller, it's about really fast agility moves. Whereas tennis, you take a few strides, you reach out, you do, tennis has like a more open floor plan, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. Whereas pickleball is like really tight and everything's sharp moves and diving for stuff and whatever. So people tend to like ankles, especially, of course,
Knees.
and hips. Yeah, knees.
Yeah. Knees don't like that.
Yeah, so it's a lot of tight, fast agility. So that's where, again, doing some cross training mindfully, slowly, I'm sure would build up strength around those tendons and joints, and not just assume like, oh, I was athletic when I was 20, now I'm 50, and let me just get out on the court and pop around. Like it's like, okay, let's build into that with some cross training, probably, right?
Yeah. Well, and I'll honor I'm not a competitive person. So I'm just like, I'm just chill. Like I love moving. Sure, I ran a half marathon, and I was like, wow, to people that run a whole marathon, I bow down to you. I did it because my friend asked me to. So I was like, wow, that was a lot. That's not my nature.
Good for
It's
you.
like I like my 3 to 5 miles every other day. I chill run, like a turtle. Um, but, so I get that that's not my nature. So I just want to honor like who you are. But like you said, can we create some balance? Can we cross train for support and stability? Can we think about the big why? Because then the other factor is it always comes back to this emotional body. If what I see is those people that are like the go for it people are definitely not happy when they can't do what they like to do. And now they have an injury. And now it might just be a shoulder, but emotionally they just shut down because they can't do that one thing. They could do 5 other things of movement, but they don't want to do it. And I'm not making fun of anyone whatsoever, but they are so upset that they can't move the way they want to move. So, like, let's get ahead of it and be preventative. And like you said, cross train, take breaks, do what makes you happy. If you're a competitive person, go ahead, but at least do supportive things to have you be at least your peak, strong, stable, balanced person, not too flexible, not flexible. It's always that sweet spot in the middle. If anyone's wondering, more flexible is not good either, right? It's that
Yeah.
sweet spot in the middle.
That's where that flexibility, mobility
Right.
difference, like, at least that's how I define it for myself. I'm like, "Oh, just because I sit here and, like, I could get this huge range of motion," it's like, "Right, but do I have utility in that range of motion?" That's true mobility, right? Because it means, like, the joint's safe because it's strengthened around the range of motion, not just long.
Correct.
Um, Beautiful. Last thing, I'll just in closing here, I wanted to mention LSD. You mentioned LSD, right? I think anything could be up. Well, so what's funny or interesting about that I find is with running, there was one of the best books I ever read was called LSD, Long Slow Distance: The Humane Way to Train.
Oh.
And it actually made a case to tie it all together, even for if people listening to this are competitive, whatever it is in running, this guy, Joe Henderson, I believe his name is, he wrote this really great book that changed my relationship to running, period. And he was referencing different people who were running, competitive runners. And he said when they trained long, slow distance most of the time, which is to say, now we have all the science to support this now, at least for running, right? And what that implicates in other things. When you train long, slow distance, which is to say, physiologically, at a low heart rate, like a mellow heart rate. So your heart rate's slightly elevated because you're jogging, right? But you might be running really slow, which is relative to you, what you're used to running. What's slow for me is a lot different than what's slow for like the most recent Boston Marathon winner. You know what I mean? Like it's so relative. But the point is it's relative, but it can be tracked by your own heart rate. And so I got to say this as a breathwork guide. There's this if you jog or hike, cycle, whatever it is, breathing through your nose and maintain nasal breathing, notice at which point you have to start to huff and puff through your mouth. And once you do, slow down, right? Because by breathing through your nose, it's an indicator for how hard your heart's working. So if you can continue to breathe through your, or if you have allergies, I guess that's a different thing, but we'll put a pin in that, right? But so if you tend to like do cardio, at least we could say this much, or at least I want to share this much, is try to breathe through your nose, and that'll keep your heart rate low so that you're active in the activity, but that you're not redlining your heart rate, so to speak. So that is longevity in a nutshell. It's such a great, and it gets the body more in fat burning over sugar burning. Anyways, topic for a whole other podcast. But when you said LSD, like, of course, you're referencing the therapeutic value for effects with like MDMA. And I had a whole podcast interview with one of my friends who's a veteran, who's a advocate for Ibogaine, big thing. So I have a whole episode on that. But when you said that, I was like, I have to mention this before we go.
Yeah. Well, and it just goes to show again, less is more. Less is more, less is more. How do we have that longevity and feel good, solid to subtle, all the layers? And it really is less is more and balance.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so self-observation without judgment. Judgment actually clouds reality, right? It's more compassionate and then we see more clearly, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time. You have so much expertise and like I'm grateful to work with you every day, to be around you. Oh, thank you. And like these conversations, that's why I was so excited to be like, hey, you want to talk to me on here? And I'm so glad you were up for it. Because you just have so much every time you drop knowledge, and every class I've ever been with you, you drop knowledge where people afterwards are talking like, she said props are the intelligent way in, not the easy way out. They're the intelligent. He's talked about that. People talked about that for days afterwards. They were just like, mind blown. Yeah, things like that, right?
Yeah, well, we are at Kripalu very blessed to be surrounded by literally hundreds of brilliant, open-hearted humans.
Yeah.
Lunch is a thrill, literally.
And it's the faculty and the guests, right? So much
Fun.
Yeah, so many incredible people with so much wisdom come through those doors, and it's just wonderful to. So thank you, thank you. Anything else you want to share or speak to before you go? Like ways to be in contact with your or Instagram or like any.
Yeah, my Instagram is at Christine Bissonette Yoga. You can find there's a link tree there that shows all of my as I specialize in yoga for pain relief at Kripalu and outside of Kripalu. I will travel to places. I do that. That's there. But so in my Instagram is where you can find pretty much everything at Christine Bissonette Yoga. But I guess the parting things is just be kind to yourself. Like just be kind, right? It's hard to be a human in this world. Let's just be kind. So do the things, and it's okay to take a break and just without the judgment. Right? That is really to me, the biggest thing that I've taken away from years of just being around all these beautiful beings that I can learn from is just be compassionate to yourself, be compassionate to the world, but make sure you don't forget about yourself.
Beautiful. Starts at home. Thank you, Christine. I thank you so much.
Mindfulness Unscripted on YouTube and Spotify. JohnOrsini.com for in-person events, Zoom sessions, and more.